Finally tonight, a shining new showcase for the arts in the Midwest and an architect having an impact around the world. Jeffrey Brown has the story.
It was a gala weekend in Kansas City recently with opera in one brand new hall and in another some hometown jazz. All to celebrate the brand new $326 million Kauffman Center for the Performing Arts and its architect, Moshe Safdie.
There's one theater, there's the other theater, and you read them as volumes, at night even more dramatically as they're lit.
Safdie gave us a tour of the new home of the Kansas City Symphony, Ballet, and Lyric Opera, two state-of-the-art spaces united by a multi-tiered lobby with sweeping views of the city. On the north facade, waves of stainless steel that form a gigantic shell. On the south, 40,000 square feet of glass anchored to the ground with 27 high-tension cables.
It's almost like a musical instrument. You almost feel like a giant person could come and sort of play the building like the harp.
Safdie, who's designed numerous cultural institutions all over the world, says for him the function of a building always determines the form that he creates.
Performing arts buildings are complex. The acoustics, the sightlines, and all that have to just be perfect. So you begin with just making these things sublime as musical instruments. And if you failed there, you failed it all. But it's got to go beyond that because it's got to be about the ritual of partaking in the performing arts. It's just got to uplift people's spirits so it becomes a place of the community.
Uplift people's spirits, huh? I mean, is that the essential task?
Absolutely. I think there is architecture that uplifts you, that makes you feel optimistic, that makes you feel celebratory, and that's what performing arts are all about.
But how does a city build something like this in hard economic times? Kansas City's done it the old-fashioned way, through private philanthropy. The idea for the center began 16 years ago with Muriel Kauffman, wife of Ewing Kauffman, founder of a large pharmaceutical company. When Muriel died, daughter Julia made it her mission to raise the rest of the funds and hold down costs.
I did cut all the frou-frou in the bathrooms and in the back of house.
No frou-frou?
No frou-frous. Right down to white tile bathrooms everywhere because that was most cost effective. But we left the money in the acoustics and the works is what I really thought was the most important. You know, while my mother taught me the arts, Ewing Kauffman taught me the bottom line.
Dad,
so, absolutely, and he's watching over me, and I better be sure about that bottom line.
Kauffman brought in architect Moshe Safdie to design a space that could bring together the city's downtown area and an emerging warehouse district of small galleries and shops.
He is known for tying blighted areas together with others. He built something for the community that seems to draw you in. And that's what we needed in this location in our town.
In fact, the city needs and wants a great deal from this project, an economic and energy boost for its downtown. Jane Chu is the Kauffman Center's CEO.
There's something about a building like this that spurs on other people to want to keep a high level of activity going in their areas. It's like if you swept your own porch and in your own neighborhood and other houses looked over and said, he's sweeping his porch too, I better sweep mine.
If Kansas City is looking to raise its profile in the nation's cultural life, Moshe Safdie seems out to cement his internationally. The Kauffman Center is just one of 4 major Safdie buildings opening this fall. There's the U.S. Peace Institute in Washington, D.C., Alice Walton of the Walmart family's Crystal Bridges Art Museum in Arkansas, and a cultural heritage center in Punjab, India. All the projects, Safdie says, reflect the unique environment in which they were created.
I think you need to, as an architect, understand the essence of a place and create a building that feels like it resonates with the culture of a place. So my buildings in India or in Kansas City or in Arkansas or in Singapore, they come out different because the places are so different.
Safdie himself is a product of many cultures. He was born in Haifa and emigrated to Montreal as a young man, where he studied architecture. He now calls Boston his home. He burst to fame in his 20s with a design featured at the 1967 World Expo for high-density apartment living called Habitat. 40 years later, after designing numerous museums, libraries, and airports, he's starting to focus again on urban living. Last year, he built a huge multi-use complex in downtown Singapore with a large park and gardens on top. And he's currently working on 3 mega apartment buildings in Asia.
These cities of 20 and 30 million people with densities of thousands of families per acre, they require new inventions to humanize that megascale, to find a way in which, though we live densely and though we live one on top of the other, we still want nature and we still want sunlight and we still want a garden and we still want all the qualities that make a place humane, and that's our responsibility.
Safdie says architects have an additional responsibility as well.
There's a profound ethic to architecture which is different from the other arts. A painter, a sculptor, a writer, they can express freely. They don't affect society as a whole. We build buildings that have a purpose, that stay there for hundreds of years or decades.
I mean, of course, we're in a time where a lot of buildings have a kind of outlandish, look-at-me sculptural quality, too.
To me, there is an ethic. It's not a wonderful freedom. There are constraints about architecture. So we have a responsibility to make buildings that have a timeless quality about them, which is the ethic of our profession.
Critics have sometimes complained that Safdie's work too often isn't imaginative enough. A Washington Post writer called the new U.S. Peace Institute building, quote, smart, clean, and bland. Safdie, with commissions galore, says he cares more what people in the neighborhood think.
It's the ultimate test is, do they get photographs there, and what do the taxi drivers say? I mean, I think you really want to know about architecture, taxi drivers. You'll always find out about what the public feels about a building from taxi drivers.
You got to deal with clients, and you got to deal with art critics, and you got to deal with all kinds of people, but the taxi drivers are the ones that tell you, huh?
Absolutely.
Questions now for Kansas City. Will audiences love the new building? And in tough economic times, keep coming after the celebration ends.
PBS begins its own celebration of the arts this evening with the premiere of the PBS Arts Fall Festival. It airs at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday nights for the next 9 weeks, beginning tonight with Gilbert and Sullivan's HMS Pinafore from the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis.